Hello. I want to talk about how I overcame racism as a child. I was 13 years old and I was basically talked out of being racist through argumentation and passionate emotions by somebody who I believed had my best interests at heart and who actually liked me. The story goes, I'll first set it up. It was a teacher. Her name was Janet Carter. I went to this hippie school in Fullerton called Community Open School, and it was one of these unschool places where there was no set curriculum, and under the hypothesis that if you were curious, you would learn better. I was already jaded, so I didn't really learn much there academically, but I did learn this really valuable lesson, and it was worth it. Anyway, it all starts with how she convinced me that she cared enough to want to like me and wasn't just faking it. One time I was at a swing set. I was on there swinging out in the field, and she comes up and sits next to me and starts talking to me like she wanted to get to know me. And I was pissed and angry. How dare you? I didn't even know that I had that in myself, but how dare you want to get to know me? Nobody knows me. Nobody sees me. People always claim that they want to get to know me, but it's always they're serving themselves when they do that. I'm not thinking this stuff. I'm feeling this stuff. And I start insulting her, calling her fat, ugly, old, or whatever. And what I was doing is I was being very prickly and pushing her away. And what I didn't know then is I know now what I was doing is I was putting up this incredible test, a proportional test. If she could pass the test, she could prove to me that she actually does want to get to know me. She actually wants to see me. This is a horrible way to go about life, of course, but it's what was going on with me. And after I was insulting her, she basically, what she did is she turned her head from me and looked out ahead. She was like she was staring at something. And I think what she was doing like meditation or following her breath or doing an inner mantra. She was using effort to not react to me. That's what I believe she was doing. And she was non-reactive. And she just sat there. She didn't get up and leave. She didn't storm off. She just sat there, continued on. And all she had to do is sit long enough to prove to this nervous system here that she did actually care. And how much was that? It was just as much as it was. And I started feeling small. And I started feeling shame for how I acted. And I didn't apologize or anything, but she pretended like it didn't happen. And she got in. She touched me in that way. So fast forward later, I'm out on the smokers bench, because this was like a junior K through 8 school that allowed smoking. It's the Gen X. Okay. Anyway, I'm out there at the smokers bench, and the subject of Mexicans came up. I think I called somebody a slur, and I was racist about Mexicans at the time because my dad was really racist, and I had some bad experiences, and I used confirmation bias to prove, my bias against Mexicans, and I ignored all the counter evidence. And she pointed out, she would say, like, give me an example. So I said an example, like, I got jumped in the junior high, the previous junior high school bathroom when on my day of orientation at junior high, 3 cholos came up and hit me in the back, or no, it was actually in the gut. I went in there by myself, and they followed me in there, and they hit me. And so she's like, so those are fucking assholes. Those are fucking assholes. They're not assholes because they're Mexicans. They're assholes because they're fucking assholes. And then give me another example. And so I gave her another example, and then, okay, there's fucking assholes. And then she says, well, what about, have you ever had a good experience? I'm like, well, yeah, actually, I thought of just the other day, I was walking in the neighborhood there by the school, and this like chola, like teenager, she bummed a cigarette off me, and she was like really friendly and cool. I thought, okay, well, maybe she's right. It took the argumentation, showing counter evidence, showing the holes in my confirmation bias and the racism that I had, but most importantly, knowing that she cared. I remember when she was saying, well, he's a fucking asshole, that guy's a fucking asshole. It's not because he's Mexican, it's because he's a fucking asshole. I could see she really cared. This really mattered to her. And I knew she had my best interest at heart. I felt it. I felt like she really cared about me. And I've used that ever since. It's probably helped me see through a lot of my confirmation bias. I know somebody who says that, oh, Asian drivers, they're so terrible. And I say, well, you don't know that. That's just confirmation bias. What you need to do is get a clipboard and have it next to your driver's seat there. And every time you see a bad driver, you speculate on their ethnicity, and then you confirm it. And then that would go in either confirm or a disproving example. And in my opinion, in my case, the only 2 times I ever drove with an Asian driver, they were both really like precise and fast. They weren't slow or anything. So obviously that's just bullshit. And my bias against Mexicans was bullshit. And it was just installed because my dad was racist. He grew up with the Zoot Suit riots back in the 30s and 40s. And the Zoot Suit riots, by the way, were actually, it was a white mob that actually rioted. That's what it actually was, but it was, anyway, that's a long story. Anyway, that's how I overcame racism. It was because of a teacher, because she cared, because she really proved it to me. I was a difficult person to get to know, and I still am, pretty much. But I had really rigid walls back then, and she got through them. All right, thanks for getting this video all the way through. All right, bye-bye.